So we miss some Jayanti observance. It's not a big problem. The problem is that people in India, people know, they've heard of Bhagavad Gita, but they don't know it, and they don't follow it. Because, I'll talk more later. A few minutes of kirtan. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatyadesakarine. Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Rasa Vishnu Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Rasa Vishnu Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Rasa Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय मुस्कान भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय निष्पात्र चक्रचार्य सरस्वती श्रीमती शिवांगी भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती महाराज ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। आर्त कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। रामाचार्य हरदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्री द्वारा शिवा हरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री राधा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड की गोवर्धन की जय। गंगा माँ यमुना माई की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायपुर नवदीप धाम की जय। वैष्णव भक्तवृंद की जय। जय गौर प्रेमानंद। All glories to the All glories to the All glories to All glories to Sri Guru and all glories to Prabhupada. Grace the sound of की जय।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Usually you hear me speaking negatively about the materialistic and atheistic influences, forces in the world, past and present. This is recommended, but maybe I've been neglected to acknowledge, to point out, it's recommended for those who have some degree of proper understanding of what is positively to be done. Prabhupada, he he recommended, and he himself set the example that he would, what is that verse? We were talking Sanskrit a few weeks ago. Glorify the
Prema pracharan pashanditalam.
huh?
Prema pracharan
Prema prasana.
Prema pracharan pashanditalam.
Prema
Pracharan. Prachar.
prasad.
Yeah, prachar. Preaching.
Prasad or pasandi
Pashanditalam.
kalan. Expose the pasandis. That is the better way of preaching. But so maybe I have failed to apply the idea that before we can preach, we have to have some understanding, some conviction, some or realization. At least intellectual understanding. We should understand the world situation, and then we can pasandi dharan, expose, criticize the materialists, the atheists, the Mayavadis. So the point is that first of all we have to, ourselves, we have to understand what is the reality. To preach, that is for those who are qualified. See, but are we qualified? Acknowledged. Good question. Are we qualified? So we should think, are we qualified? So what is qualification? What is the qualification? That we have firm, we have understanding of the fundamental principles of the Shastras, and we have firm understanding and some conviction. That is required. So maybe I've neglected that and instead talked about criticizing the atheists and materialists. So this movement began, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. Kali Yuga Namaru, what is that verse? Kalo Sankirtana Rambe. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he inaugurated this movement. By performing kirtan, just like we are performing kirtan. Not just like, purely, perfectly. Ours, yes, ours is also good, pure. Based on the principle that we understand the situation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He didn't ignore the situation. The situation at that time was, it is India 500 years ago, before even the United States was thought of by some Britishers, what to speak of thinking of migrating to the United States. Nobody thought of going to the United States because there was no United States. So people were not so materialistic. Maybe they were hardly materialistic, but they were not devotees, because India at the time was so much influenced by Shankar philosophy, impersonalism, monism, Buddhism, so people in general, they can't understand the deep, the broad history and philosophical principles. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not try to educate them in that sense, but he simply chanted. Of course, to some, a few intimate associates, he spoke, he preached. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Rai, others, who else? But then the movement became, after his departure, there was no one that continued exactly as he did. He traveled all over India on foot. And you see that sign, you can look after, it's in Telugu. You don't know Telugu. There's no, all the places Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, holy places, hundreds of places in South India, and Maharashtra also, and UP, I don't know, Maharashtra. So, and then the British were here. They came. When did the British come to India?
89.
Huh?
1709.
1700
Yes.
approximately. And they were not all atheists, some of them were pious Christians. There's one story, one British officer, he's a governor or some high official, he went to, was it Tirupati or some big temple in Andhra Pradesh?
South India. Tirupati somewhere.
It was Tirupati. And he was not faithful. Maybe he was a Christian, good, pious Christian man. But as soon as he left, all the archakas, they closed the doors and they washed the whole temple, you see. So he was insulted. And of course his attitude was not very devotional. That night he had a dream that a lion jumped on his chest and was going to tear him apart with his nails. And that was Narasimha. So that dream influenced him. You never heard this story? I don't remember. I have it noted somewhere. And the point is that the British were not, like now, only interested in controlling the world. You know, the British financed Adolf Hitler, along with the American Reserve Bank, the Bank of England. They were not like that. They, to some extent, maybe they had empire all over the world, but their demonic activities were not so extensive. Anyway, the point is that the British in India included some pious men. Even Prabhupada attended Scottish Churches College, and he said that some of his professors were very pious, good men. I also had Scottish professors in a Scottish university, McGill University. But they had no understanding of Vedanta or of Sanatana Dharma or of the Yugas or of Yuga Dharma. They had no understanding. So instead they tried to preach their idea of Christianity. So in Bengal, 150 years ago, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a young man, and he was exposed to these British philosophers. As a matter of fact, he in his earlier life, he very much praised certain British philosophers. I don't remember which ones' names, some famous names. But then, due to his qualifications by his birth and his contact with great Vaishnavas, he began to understand what is the Bhagavad, what is the actual Vedic religion. Vedic religion means, as we can understand from Srimad Bhagavatam. But Srimad Bhagavatam contains many stories that to an ordinary person seem fantastic, you see? And because people were already following some philosophy at the time in West Bengal, the Bhagavatam had a bad name, bad name because Sahajiyas, they were imitating Radha and Krishna. This materialistic people dressed as sadhus, but keeping women and imitating Radha and Krishna Leela. You see? So this gave a bad name to Bhagavatam and the Bhagavat religion. So then there were reform movements. I don't know in this part of, in Andhra Pradesh, Telugu Desh, people know there was the Brahmo Samaj. If you go to Calcutta, you'll hear about it historically. The Brahmo Samaj, and they wanted to reform the religion, but they were not qualified because they're speculative. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote many articles and he gave public talks to clarify and to